Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining our virtual roundtable on child care with California State Senator John Laird. Thank you, Senator, for joining us this evening. Thank you, parents, teachers, and guests for being here with us this evening. Tonight, you will hear from our panelists who will share their experience with child care and preschool, including Kidango CEO Scott Moore. Following that, we will hear from Senator Laird and have some time for some questions. Feel free to put your questions in the Q&A section on your screen, and we'll share your questions later on in our conversation. If you would like to ask your question verbally, please use the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen, and when that time comes, we will unmute you. Thank you very much, and welcome everyone.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle Flackpack. I'm the Center Director for Kidango's Eden Palms Center located here in South San Jose. Kidango is the largest preschool provider in the Bay Area. With over 50 centers, we serve over 4,000 children. 95% of our families receive free or reduced cost childcare. We strive to provide high quality early learning because we want all our children to reach their full potential. Kidango centers often partner with counties, school districts, hospitals, courtrooms, and other organizations. My center has a partnership with the affordable housing organization, Eden Housing, where we offer childcare services from toddlers to preschoolers to the residents and our surrounding community. For lower income families, sometimes childcare can take as much as 36% of their monthly salary. Publicly funded programs are helpful, however, access is very limited. Childcare is important for families because having increased access and lower costs can lead to a decrease in the number of families leaving their jobs. So I would like to introduce to you one of our Kidango Eden Palms parents, Rocio, and one of our Kidango teachers, Veronica. They would love to share their stories with you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rocio. I am a parent at one of the Kidango centers. I have 5 children, ages 2 through 13. And in my experience, affordable childcare has not been is not easier today than it was 13 years ago. High cost and or long wait list has definitely held me back from accomplishing really anything. Right now, I'm stuck working a low-paying job because honestly, this is the only type of job that would allow my children to come to work with me. I honestly just can't afford childcare for all 5 of my children. It has been impossible to find centers or after school programs for my 3 oldest children alone. My youngest, who is 2, he's been on a wait list for over 6 months. So Monday through Friday, I load my kids into my car and off to work we go. It is very difficult to work this way, and it's really unfair to them that this is just, this is how I have to work. You know, they need to come to work with me. It shouldn't be this way. School takes place in my car. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner takes place in my car. As a parent, I should be able to afford childcare so that I can go out and I can work, so that I can go out and get a degree, get an education. So that I can get out of these low cost programs quicker. My spot could be given to a parent who has been on a wait list for over a year. It can be given to that parent who is struggling to make ends meet because 30 to 40% of their paycheck is going to childcare. It's like, how can I work when I can't afford daycare? How can I afford daycare if I can't work? I am beyond grateful for the services that I have received from Kidango. My daughter, Bella, who is now 6, she attended Kidango at the age of 4 and 5, and Kidango prepared her tremendously for kindergarten. The teachers were impressed as she came into kindergarten knowing how to read, and doing first grade math. They were just beyond impressed. My daughter Pinky, she is 4. She currently attends Kidango. Pinky has Down syndrome and mild hearing loss. And the support that I have received from Kidango has been just incredible. Not only does Kidango spend their time educating and preparing the student, but they're also taking their time to prepare and educate us parents so that we can go home and we can educate our children further. Pinky is not only safe and loved, but she's thriving. If it wasn't for Kidango, I honestly don't know where I would be, probably with 2 screaming toddlers in my car. But I know that it wouldn't be easy. We need affordable childcare centers to open. We need after school programs for our older children. The parents and children of California need more life-changing programs like Kidango. Thank you, guys.
Good evening. My name is Veronica Hernandez. I live in the San Jose area. It is my pleasure to speak to you today. As a parent, I enrolled my daughter in the Kidango preschool 4 years ago. Shortly after that, the teachers and I developed a wonderful relationship. I admire how enthusiastic they were to teach. I would volunteer at her preschool, so I got to see how they were teaching the children, which I was surprised to see how the children were engaged in the learning, but still having fun. Unfortunately, I lost my job working for the dental clinic. The center director of my daughter's school informed me about a program called Kidango Internal Teacher Program, where substitute teachers are needed to support teachers in Kidango's child care center. I remember that summer I stayed at a center where they had an inclusion program. At the center, I was able to work with children with special needs. It warms my heart to say that Kidango has implemented an inclusion program where the children with special needs are being cared for, and they are learning together with their peers, not feeling excluded. At this center, I met a special needs girl, Aaliyah, sorry. She was nonverbal, very active girl. She was having a hard time adjusting to school, but I learned from the inclusion teachers that there are different approaches to children. I took my time and I worked with this child for a few weeks, and eventually I was able to develop a connection with her and her parents. And the therapist worked with her, and she was able to speak and interact with the few in the few months that she was there. I will never forget the day that I left that center. The grandma came to me and told me, "You are so wonderful and lucky to have you. I feel sad that you're leaving, but I know that Aaliyah will not forget you. Thanks for all you've done for my granddaughter." On that day, reminiscing of this child, I said to myself, I want to become a teacher. This is what I want to do. I want to be somebody that will change the children's life, somebody that can care for children with special needs. The day came where I was offered the position for teacher aide permanently at one center. While working as a teacher aide, Kidango gives you opportunities to learn more. They gave me the opportunity to take the program Seeds. Seeds is a way of teaching children. We focus on children's learning needs. We individualize each child where they're lacking. We focus with them and encouraging them and teaching them with games, activities, play, and songs. Here at Kidango, we are trying to meet gaps before they leave for kindergarten. I remember one and my parents said to us, "My preschooler knows more than my kindergarten. He even helps him when doing homework." I am glad to say several of our children are writing their names, identifying their letters and letter sounds, and they are rhyming. I have plans to get an associate's degree as a bachelor as well as a bachelor's. I know this will take time, but it is good to know that the possibilities are there because Kidango provides tuition to further our education. In the future, I see myself becoming a center director. With this company, the possibilities are endless. Imagine what more funding could accomplish. We can get paid more. I feel that as a preschool teacher, society doesn't consider us as teachers, but most of the teachers here take the same units as other teachers. They further their education. We should get paid more than what we're getting paid now. Having more funds, we can open more centers. Where I feel that we are lacking centers is in the infants. As a growing family in the future, my concern is when having my child, where would I enroll her or him? Unfortunately, there are not enough infant centers. Let me just finish by saying education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. By Nelson Mandela, which Kidango is giving our children education so they can succeed and execute towards becoming the most wonderful and powerful generation. We as teachers take great pride with the tools that have been given to us. We teach our children with the knowledge and Kidango's philosophy. Thank you.
Thank you, Veronica and Lucio and Michelle. My name is Scott, and I'm CEO of Kidango. I'll talk really quickly so we can get to Senator Laird. There's so much work that we're proud of, so many people that we're proud of at Kidango. Veronica mentioned seeds. We didn't develop seeds. It actually started in I think your hometown, Senator Laird, in Santa Cruz, the first 5 Santa Cruz. And it was Susan Chu that brought it to us. We actually just wrapped up the second year of a RCT that the University of Chicago has done, showing the dramatic effects on children's learning that seeds can have. And it just shows the power of early childhood education, the opportunity to ensure that every child starts ready for success at school. And it was at a Kidango event, we call it our superhero for early learning, where then candidate Governor Newsom was our award recipient. And he announced at that event, I think for the first time, that if he becomes governor, he wanted to be known as the early childhood governor. We feel like he's working hard to fulfill that promise. He just released a master plan on early learning and care that we're really excited about, and then sort of announced the beginning of funding that and making that promise turn to reality with his January budget. Looking at how we can serve more children, and then serve more children with more years. If we're able to expand TK and make it universal, that's something for all families. But what it would allow an organization like Kidango to do, because we don't do TK because we're not a school district, is it would allow us to serve Rocio's children when they're younger. So, as Veronica said, we need more infant toddler care. If our 4-year-olds go to their local school when they're 4, that means we can serve them when they're 3. That means we can serve them when they're babies. And research says that that's when you can have the greatest impact. So, we're really excited by the promise of the master plan and the legislature's longstanding commitment to early childhood, but we also recognize just how hard these times have been. And when Veronica talks about early childhood teachers deserving higher pay, we've been fortunate at Kidango, and in the last 5 years, we've been able to raise teacher pay by close to 50%. That's thanks in large part due to increases in rates that the state has provided, many of them under Governor Brown. But at the same time, we're nowhere near where we want to be, because Veronica deserves to be paid as much as any teacher is. So with that, I will now introduce the senator. For those of you who don't know, Senator John Laird, he is, unlike a lot of elected officials today, it seems like some people love them, some people not so much. Senator Laird is one of those that is sort of universally beloved. He is a state senator, was elected in November of just last year. but has a long-standing history, was in the state assembly prior to that, and served as secretary of the California Natural Resources Agency, where he has provided longstanding leadership in the environment. Prior to the assembly, Mr. Laird was elected as a member of the Cabrillo College Board of Trustees, as well as he's a former council member of Santa Cruz City Council, and served 2 terms as mayor there. And he also served as executive director of the Santa Cruz AIDS Project, taught environmental policy at UC Santa Cruz, and has even hosted a news talk program on KUSP Public Radio. He's the son of teachers. He was raised in Vallejo, and he's been a longtime resident of Santa Cruz with his spouse, John Flores. And he has traveled extensively, is fluent in Spanish, enjoys conducting family history research, and for reasons that I cannot understand, is a lifelong fan of the Chicago Cubs. So with that, Senator.
Well, thank you very much, Scott. And I could talk about a lot of that, but let me just sort of say a point of introduction. It's pretty hard to follow Rocio and Veronica because I think they personify exactly what the issue is here. Whether you're trying to get quality childcare and enough of it, or where you aspire to work in it and make enough to survive, and things that you just both talked about. And I think the one thing that is sort of transcendent in my career is I did the county's social services budget as an analyst and was working on childcare 40 years ago. Was president of the local childcare council, where we tried to expand opportunities. We actually funded childcare and toddler care as a city council, because cities don't usually get in that. At Cabrillo College, we had the early childhood center, and the irony is Susan True, who you mentioned at First Five and is now at the Community Foundation, got her start as a volunteer at the Santa Cruz AIDS Project when I was executive director. And I think it is exactly as if it's Veronica. You find somebody and they grow and they move up, and that's what she's done. And I think it seems like that's what you're doing. And then in the legislature, I was a real advocate the first time around as budget chair. We were trying to do the first steps toward universal preschool then. And it was tough. And I think, interestingly, Gavin Newsom has made the commitment, and you mentioned to it, and I think it's a question of, in times of COVID and times of economic downturn, making sure that that commitment is good. And on this point, one of the things is I'm chair of the Senate Budget Subcommittee on Education. And interestingly, all the childcare programs have been in the Department of Education, but most of them, except for TK, transitional kindergarten, are moving over to the Department of Social Services. But the transition doesn't happen until July 1st. So we just had a hearing jointly with the Subcommittee on Health and Human Services and my own in education on the issues that you were talking about. And the current economic times have really sucked it to childcare. There are a number of centers that have closed down in the state or have cut back their hours. The stage 2 CalWorks is down 18%. There are real challenges coming from this, but some of the state workers have organized for better wages and just entered into their first contracts with the State Department of Services. And I think it's our goal as a Democratic caucus in the Senate. It's interesting. I walked in the door and they said, our goal is to expand the slots and expand the pay in childcare. And so I think that is a goal within these tough budget times to try to do it and to try to make it happen. And I think the important thing, we making sure that the stories that were told at the outset of this call are told across the state in a way that we can bring some of my colleagues along to make sure we do this. Well, I didn't want to talk more than that. I know we don't have all the time in the world left. If there's questions or other comments, I'd be happy to try to answer them or listen to the comments if people want to make comments. And I appreciate the fact that you put this together tonight. It's good to be with you all.
Thank you, Senator. If you have a question, please go ahead and either put them in the Q&A box or raise your hand and I will unmute you to share your question. Okay, we have Alicia. Alicia, are you there? Okay, I'll go to the next person. I have Maureen who has a question. Maureen?
Muted? Are they unmuted?
Can you guys hear me?
Now we can.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I've been having microphone problems. I always have to check. Hi, everyone. My name is Maureen Coker. I'm actually the Assistant Director of Head Start with Kidango. Thank you very much, Senator, for joining us at this time. I know it's pretty late. I just have one question that I want to ask because I want to give everybody else an opportunity to ask their questions. Just in regards to the public charge rule that we have right now, is there anything that you plan on doing about it? Just because we have a lot of families that have been affected by this rule, especially during the pandemic, we have families that call us and say, "Oh, we want to enroll our child, our kids in Head Start, but we're so worried about the public charge rule. Will it affect like my citizenship?" Like, so parents are in fear of getting the support, even though Head Start, we do not look at that, but just parents are just in fear of that. So I'm like, what can be done so we can like ease parents' fear? Because parents have a million things they have to worry about. So for just this to be like one less thing that they have to always worry about.
I think, at the state level, the budget this year really has the goal of delivering services without regard to immigration or documented status. There is still some weirdness at the federal level, and a lot of that weirdness went away on January 20th, but it hasn't changed in the rules totally yet sometimes. And so we just all have to make sure that there's clarity there with the federal programs, because I think the real idea is to make sure everybody across the board avails themselves of services and has a chance to make a go of it. So I think from the state, we can make a clear statement that that's just not anything that's going to be taken into consideration in a negative way if they access services. We still have to make sure that's true if there's any federal money involved. And I think that will be okay going forward, but we still have to make that certainty, because I think we want to be able to say to parents or people that are having that question with complete assuredness that we're telling them the truth and that they can feel comfortable coming in.
Alicia, do you have your question?
Yes, I do. Sorry, something was wrong with my volume.
Mhm.
Hi, Mr. Senator. My name is Alicia. I've been a single mom for over 10 years in this district. I have noticed there are some preschools, but not a lot of infant and toddler programs. When I was 10 years old, I went to school down the street from Santa Teresa. I attended a homework club every day until 4 p.m. when my mom was able to pick me up from work. I am now 30 with two teenagers who never knew what homework club was or any after school program. I also just had an infant who was loving being at home with a second parent. However, in this era, both parents have to be working in order to stay afloat. So my two questions for you would be, is there going to be any after school programs where parents are reassured their child can attend for little to no cost, for example, homework club? My second question would be, will there be more quality infants and toddler programs that provide education and social emotional learning for our young children at affordable rates?
I'll be really honest, I don't know the answer to after school because I know there's after school programs. The second part of your question about reduced rates is what I do not know. I just don't know how that breaks down because there's a certain amount of money that goes to that. And I don't know how it's guided. I mean, I'm willing to work on that. I think the whole adequacy of enough spaces for toddler care is historic. It is just historic. It has been a problem forever. I have friends that when they became pregnant, when they first found out they were pregnant, they enrolled their kids on the waiting list for toddler care because it was so narrow. That was the only way they even had a shot of getting someone in. And so the real question and the difficulty is, or the challenge is toddler care requires such higher rates of workers to toddlers as childcare of kids at a greater age, that the costs of it are significantly higher. And so it's making sure that there's enough money to do that. And I think it's been all those things. There aren't enough teachers at the wages for toddler care, and it requires a great number more. There isn't enough money, and as a result, that just doesn't lead to the slots that are at the level that even match other ages of childcare, which are inadequate, but it doesn't even match them. So I think we're really clear that there's a need for much more toddler care, and we have to try to do whatever it takes to get there.
We have about 2 more questions, but if your question does not get answered this evening, please feel free to send them to advocacy@kidango.org, and we can always follow up with the senator's office to get more answers for
I
you.
have to make a call that's near 8 o'clock, except for I'll delay it to answer the 2 questions. And if I see my phone ring, I'll send him a message saying I'm calling him back right away.
Okay.
It's another legislator. So let's just try to see if we can get the 2 questions in.
Okay. Patricia Moran, are you there? Patricia?
Just a second, please. I'm sorry. I can't use my screen right now.
We can hear you.
Yes, thank you.
That's the
Thank you,
important
Senator.
thing.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you to all the persons from Kidango. I'm going to speak on behalf of the providers, the home childcare providers. You know, we have this like small centers. We provide education to our children, and we open at different hours, 24 hours a day. And my question is, are we going to have more fundings to enroll more children? Because a lot of our providers, we have openings for toddlers, and not only for toddlers, preschoolers, infant toddlers, preschoolers, school age, and we provide education. We are providers with education too. And that's my question, because right now we are facing the crisis, the COVID-19 crisis, and we need a lot of funding for
I don't have a lot of time, so let me just say I addressed the toddler question, and there's going to be an attempt this year. And Kevin McCarty, who's my counterpart in the Assembly as chair of the Education Budget Subcommittee, I just had a long socially distanced walk with him, and he's going to push universal preschool and trying to finally get there in this year's session. And if that happens, it would be education based. There would be many more slots. And I think there's political will. It's a question of whether we can get to the money. So there's going to be a real effort to do that this year. And I would say, not just me, but if you're in any other districts, please engage with your legislator and let them know you support this, because it would be the answer to your question.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator. Thank you.
And there's one more question, I think somebody has.
Elva, are you still there to ask your question?
Hi.
We can hear you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you so much. Hello, I'm Elba Mesa. I'm the lead teacher at Kidango Idle Farms, and I agree with Alisa. We need more infant and toddler programs. So, because we had a lot of families that ask us if we had a space for their babies, and we don't have any. So these families have no choice. What they need to do, that they need to stay at home. So I believe this will be very helpful to support them. And another one that I work on another Kidango center for 6 years. So this center has an inclusion program. So in my own experience working during this 6 years in that center, I noticed that including children with special needs, which typically developing children has they had a great impact on their development, and they are more ready for kindergarten. So we need more centers with inclusion programs where teachers can be supported by a special ed teacher. We can work together to help children with special needs. There are many females at this time. We had a lot of families who had children with disabilities and with special needs, and they need a lot of help and support for them for healthy development. And so, what do you think? What can you do to supporting us?
I think
Thank
that,
you so much.
yes, I was going to say, thank you very much for your question. And your question cuts across almost everything we've been talking about
Mhm.
is how to effectively organize, how to support it, because I think some of the things I've been talking about are the answer to your question. And we just have to work
Okay.
to try to make them happen. And it's going to be hard. And we do have some problems coming out of COVID, but I think there's, as I was saying, some political determination to try to see if we can't make steps ahead this year. So in any event, I apologize that I have to go, but this has been really helpful. I've really appreciated everybody's personal stories. And I know that you now have linked to my office, so you'll be able to be in touch. Dante Golden told me he was having trouble getting on. He texted me, but I know Shaw Ramey Wright from my office is on this call. And so if there's anything you need, or you want to know the status of one of these things as it moves through the year, or you want to know who to pressure, there's Shaw's email address in the chat. That's the best way to do it. And so I really appreciate you reaching out and having me here today. And I just look forward to working together.
Thank you so much, Senator Laird. It's been a pleasure, and thank you, everybody.
Great. Okay. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.